Married man, 43M. Seemingly flirting with my 33M wife, 38F. This new person started in my wife's work a few months back. She's mentioned a few times that they get on really well, which is great because she's had problems in previous workplaces with getting treated really poorly. So I'm really happy for her having someone she gets on with. I've become a bit weirded out recently though, and I don't know if it's just me. They started texting each other, which has gotten progressively more frequent. There's never any romantic overtones and she's happy for me to see the messages if I'm next to her or whatever, so I'm extremely sure there's no cheating going on. She's always with me and never shown any signs of it before and has been very open with everything, so I really do trust her 100%. Not so sure about the other guy though. The main couple of things that made me mention something happened today. We were having a walk in the park together with the kids and she keeps texting him and then starts taking photos of the scenery and sending them to him. Then we went to a concert tonight and met up with him and his wife and daughter. They were talking constantly all night and he moved from being on the other side of his wife and daughter to being next to her and right up close, so their legs were touching and he's leaning into her. Although it was very loud, so maybe it was to be heard better. I felt mostly ignored though, however I'm quite quiet anyway and they both talk a lot generally. His wife seems quiet also, but I do wonder what she thinks of it. I mentioned it to my wife that I found it a bit odd and said that if things were the opposite and I met a new girl at work, took her number and started texting constantly, how would she feel? She said I was right and she would feel uncomfortable, so she seems to understand. But she's saying she saw him like a gay best friend because he's sort of a bit camp. I don't think he is. And also is married to a woman, so yeah. But she won't text him anymore if I'm uncomfortable. I don't want me saying this to now make her uncomfortable in her new friendship, and I'm now feeling guilty about it, and I started playing it down to me being needy and wanting her attention more. I struggle with confidence and anxiety issues. I don't know if I should have brought the subject up. Too long did not read. Wife met someone new at work. Started texting constantly even when I'm with her and seemed to be getting a bit close on a night out. Told her I was uncomfortable, but now I feel in the wrong. Don't feel guilty. You established your presence, you saw him as a threat and took care of it. Your wife is good. Use whatever negative energy this left you with and shape it into improving your marriage even more. Go above and beyond. Date your wife. Think of things you haven't done before. Swoon her and she won't think about some married loser trying to shower her with attention. If it were me, you already broached it correctly. Just say, look, from these hours it's off limits, and I really don't want you texting him nearly as much. He needs to be at arm's length, especially a coworker. They can catch up at work. That should be our time. Now if you say this, you better back it up with spending time with her. Your wife seems to be pretty level-headed about your feelings on this, so I would trust her side of it. You can't really control what this guy does or how he acts, and I understand the uneasy feelings you have. I would advise to keep the line of communication open with your wife and trust her to make the right choices concerning him. I'm not saying this is one, but be careful, as this is how emotional affairs start. Your wife has a boyfriend and she's dating him right in front of you. You voiced your concerns and she noped them. Good luck. My 24F boyfriend, 23M, saw X-rated photos of me with an ex and I don't know how to handle the guilt. Today, shortly after arriving to work, I received a heartbreaking text from my boyfriend. He explained that he was on my iPad trying to find videos on YouTube to fall back asleep to and decided to take some goofy pics of himself for me to find later. As he is a Samsung user, he is not used to the icons on Apple products and unknowingly selected my Google Photos instead of Apple Photos to look at them once he was done. My boyfriend and I have an open phone policy, although neither of us use it because we have full trust in one another and don't have anything to hide. When my boyfriend and I started dating, I deleted all photos of my ex off of my phone and thought that was the end of it. I had completely forgotten about Google Photos on my iPad, as I typically just used it for gaming. Since my Google Photos has not been synced in about 2 years now, the recent photos were from years ago and included some not safe for work photos of me and my ex-BF, which my current boyfriend unknowingly stumbled upon. His text message explained how he found the photos and they made him throw up, and how he couldn't go back to sleep because every time he closed his eyes he just saw the photos. As I have explained that I have not viewed those photos in literally years, I genuinely do not know what photos he saw, but knowing my previous relationship, they were probably not great. My boyfriend has apologized for snooping. Even though he stumbled upon the photos and has assured me he is working through it and still loves me and doesn't look at me any differently, but I can't help feeling an overwhelming sense of shame and guilt. My previous relationship was not healthy and often involved pressure as to sexual acts I was not comfortable with. I feel so devastated that my boyfriend had to see this and will be reminded every day when he looks at me. I just feel kind of lost and don't know how to comfort him through this. I guess I'm just asking for advice from anyone who may have experienced a similar situation. How do you move on? The fact that you are keeping them may not sit well with him. Sit your boyfriend down and explain all about the abusive nature of your previous relationship. You have no reason to feel guilty. You are a victim of your ex and no one has any right to blame or shame you. As a guy, this would bother me to no end and probably would cause the end of the relationship. Not trying to be mean, but I'd never be able to look at my partner again the way I thought of her. Yes, I realize everyone has a past and it shouldn't matter, but it does, and seeing their past and knowing certain things would just make me reevaluate the entire relationship. He's definitely questioning why you still have those pictures, videos you have saved, also why you two never experimented like what he saw, and if you never sent sexual pictures, he probably wondering why that is now as well. I wish you the best of luck and I'd advise you look thoroughly through your devices and delete anything else that might be sexual in nature to prevent future issues. Just about every relationship you go into, if it's not your first, you will have to expect that your partner has had relations. He's going to have to understand that you tried your best to get rid of those photos. It's not your fault. I think you guys will move past this. It was in your past. He's going to have to be mature and level-headed about it. I can only think that the photos show you in postures and acts which your boyfriend never experienced with you, leaving him shaken and you guilt-ridden. His reason tells him these were consenting acts that have nothing to do with you and he. His emotion tells him there is a part of you that he doesn't know nor understand, which puts your relationship in an entirely new frame of reference. So tell him this was a bygone frame. Yes, this was me, trying things that didn't take hold and stick. That trial period ended in failure, just as my relationship with the ex ended in failure. What I have with you is far more promising, but even you weren't with me. I would not go back to my old self, nor to my old BF, for all the riches in the world. My 26F partner, 28M, wants to charge me rent to live in his one-bed apartment. I have been super worried about posting this. I know this is a topic that has been brought up a lot of Reddit, but I have a perspective that I really would like some opinions on. My boyfriend and I are both reasonably well off with good jobs in a high cost of living city. I have a little more student debt, but overall doing fine. My boyfriend is in a process of buying, with a mortgage, a one-bedroom apartment. I would also like to buy, but it is a few years down the line. So obviously the question is if I should pay my boyfriend rent to live with him in his one-bedroom apartment. I love him very much and this living arrangement would be suitable for me. Obviously, I know all expenses should be split equally: gas, electric, water, groceries, small repairs around the house. But paying rent to him is an issue to me for the following reasons. 1. It's a one-bed apartment. If I don't move in beside him in the bed, he won't be able to rent it to anyone else, the opportunity cost. It feels wrong to pay for something that couldn't be sold to anyone else. 2. I would have no tenancy rights. In our current location, if you stay a certain amount of time in a rental, you get good tenancy rights where they can't kick you out easily and they can't raise your rent. This is what I currently have and I would have to give that up. Even if he gives me below market value rent, the situation is still not comfortable for me. I feel the situation is very uneven and I am happy to continue maintaining my own apartment. If the situation was reversed, I would not charge him rent, as it feels weird to profit off a partner. I know the argument is I would have to pay my rent anyway, but it would feel like I'm giving up a lot to live in his house and allow him to profit off something he couldn't without a girlfriend. Am I a bad partner for not letting him charge me rent? If there is no financial advantage to giving up your apartment and moving in with your boyfriend, then just don't do it. Yeah, I think this would be a bad move for you. If you have a good place now, don't leave. The amount of people I see on Reddit who think it's totally fine to not chip in when moving into a partner's owned home is wild to me. If he's charging you less than market value, I say go for it. It doesn't make you a bad partner exactly, just an entitled one in my opinion. Don't think of it as rent, think of it as contributing. You'd probably end up saving more money with this arrangement, which would put you in a better position in purchasing a place yourself. If you really don't want to contribute anything to living there besides the shared bills, just keep your own place. But it will take you longer to save for a home that route. Nope, you're helping him build equity with no guarantee of a return on your investment. If it was splitting rent or you were also on the mortgage, then yes, of course you should pay, but in this case, nah. Keep your place until you all are at a point where you're truly combining finances. Do you have to pay to live wherever you live, whether it's with your boyfriend, by yourself, or with a roommate? If you have a problem sharing the expenses, call it rent, call it paying the mortgage, call it paying for a roof over your head, then you should stay in your own apartment. 29F, feel emotionally abandoned by husband, 37M. We have been married for almost 12 years. Over the years things have drifted apart significantly. Every time I address to him a concern in our relationship or how I am feeling about things, he would get an attitude, but lately he says nothing. I have molded myself to not nag or complain about little things since I felt these things bother him. I don't feel emotionally connected to him. We don't have intimacy anymore, and when it happens I feel used. Everyone thinks we are a happy family from the outside looking in. We have 2 beautiful kids. He loves them deeply and I can see it, but I have my self-doubts about our relationship. He no longer takes me on dates. If we take a road trip with the kids, it could be 12 hours of no conversation. It's truly feeling like we are just roommates. I have offered we go to therapy and he doesn't say a word, like always just stays quiet and gives me a death glare. I feel like he hates me. I have often brought up that if he is no longer happy I would understand and would hate to keep him that way. I also suffer a lot from anxiety and depression. He is not there for me. Even when I need just a simply hug, some reassurance, anything. If I'm sick I'm on my own. He works plus 12-hour shifts and he never takes the time of day to call even 2-3 minutes to check on me or the kids. I have fallen several times in front of him and doesn't even give me a hand up. One time this random man ran to me, but not my husband. Little things like that get me so down. Not sure if I have had high hopes all along or if it's normal or if things have just ended for him. I feel tired of trying to make him feel special just to feel like a burden myself. You were married at 17. He groomed you. If he doesn't want to fix this, go to therapy. You should talk to a divorce lawyer. As of now, the kids are seeing that daddy doesn't really like mommy, and might take that as a model for their future relationships. You're important too and your feelings matter. You deserve to put yourself first. You're not getting the emotional connection you should from your husband, and that isn't something that'll stay hidden. Put yourself first. Show your kids a happy mom even if it isn't with dad. But maybe it's workable, I'm not sure. Either way I wish you luck. My dad hated my mom, screwed me up for a long time because they stayed together for the kids. Kids don't want that, they want safe, happy and loved spaces. The age gap says it all. The man was attracted to a teenager who might not look the same as she's now in her late 20s. I feel age gap more than 5 years is just invitation to unhappy marriage.